Well, as we hit this final 20th anniversary night celebration of the year, I think it's only fitting that we have probably the most famous Blue Jacket with me right now. Rick Nash is joining me as our honored player. And Rick, it was a long time ago that you came in here as an 18-year-old young man, and here you are still wearing that Blue Jackets logo. You've gone from a player to the front office and a couple of stops in between. But what does it mean to you just to watch this franchise celebrate the 20th anniversary? I know it's not been the year that any of us want on and off the ice, but the fact that this team has been here for 20 years and you've been such a big part of it.
It's been really cool. To come in, I think it was their third year as an NHL franchise, to come in to see where we started here in Columbus, and then, to leave for a few years and then come back and see how much the city's grown, how much the minor hockey's grown in Columbus, and, how much this organization has grown. It was really fun to kind of be part of it and then step out of it and be on the outside looking in, and now being back in. So I've kind of got all different angles of it. And I'm telling you, it's pretty special to have this organization in Columbus. And obviously this year was a bit tough, but beyond that, they're an important part of the community here, and it's great entertainment for our fans.
All right, let's talk about Rick Nash as an 18-year-old getting drafted by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Do you remember the first time that you actually came to town and got a look at Nationwide Arena and Columbus itself?
Yeah, I do. I believe it was a few weeks or maybe a week after the draft, they held a development camp. And, me being from Toronto, it was my first time, coming to Ohio. And I remember going to the Toronto airport and, checking my hockey gear and figuring all that stuff out, and landing in Columbus, and Todd Chirac picked me up at the airport and brought me down to Nationwide for the first time. And just talk about the city development a little bit, but it didn't look like this around here. It was almost a freestanding building, and it was cool. I remember walking in and walking into the main arena and just kind of staring up and dreaming of having people standing on their feet cheering for you, and it was a special time. And at the time, I didn't really think that I'd spend this many years here and then retire here. But it definitely won my heart, and not only the city but the organization.
Yeah, it's really funny you say that about how it looks so different. I remember coming here. It was early in the tenure of the franchise. When I was in Syracuse, we came in and played a couple of games here at Nationwide Arena, and prior to Huntington Park being back there, there wasn't the parking garages. Those were flat parking lots. You could see the building from Neal Avenue and everything. And that's what a lot of people say, and probably some of your former teammates here too, when they come back, they can't believe how much it has grown over the years.
Yeah, it truly is unbelievable. I mean, I feel like the arena was kind of the landmark, and then everything started building around it. And now with the Columbus Crew Stadium going down here, it really is a great sports city. You got the baseball, you got the NCAA football, and then you got the Blue Jackets as well. And it's funny when you were mentioning that with the flat parking lots and being able to see it from all angles. I remember coming from the airport the first time with Todd Chirac, and kind of taking that last bend around 670, and there the arena was. You could see it in full daylight. There's nothing obstructing it, and now it's tough to pick out. So it's great for the city. I mean, just, how far the short north has come, and it feels like you can drive down High Street and it's connected to campus. It's impressive, and it's a fun place to be, and a fun place to raise a family.
You know what it means, Rick? It means we're getting old. Like, I remember my mom used to tell me she would be driving back near where she grew up, and she'd be like, "Oh, I remember this was farmland, and now there was a mall on it," right? And I used to think, you're so old. Now we're telling the same stories.
I know it's funny to think that the arena was standing alone by itself, and now you come in and you feel old because you can't even see it. They have all the restaurants around here, and all the different places to go for dinner before games. So it's come a long way, and it's a really cool place to be around.
When you were that young guy, 18 years old, making your debut in the National Hockey League, especially those first couple of years, what do you remember about, the teammates that you had, the guys that helped you along the way? I mean, obviously you were an ultra talented guy, but there were some good veteran players here at the time that I'm sure helped to point you in the right direction, teach you how to be a pro, because, there was no stop in the American Hockey League. There was right to the NHL. You're coming right from the London Knights to the National Hockey League. Who were some of the guys that helped you learn how to be a good pro?
Well, I think I got lucky, with having Jody Shelley here, and, kind of bonding with him right away. We were both at the start of our NHL careers, and, he helped me out a lot. I was obviously a young kid leaving home. So he was a great one. And then, you start to think about some of the veterans with, Mike Sillinger, Grant Marshall, Tyler Wright. I was pretty lucky. Kevin Dineen. Andrew Castles was a huge influence on me. Obviously, coming from Brampton, he was from Bramalea, which was a neighboring city. So it was huge to have him around, and he really helped me out. I lived close to Jean-Luc Grandpierre, which was great, because just having that bond outside the arena, which was kind of more important for me being so young, was very helpful. And that made things a lot easier for me to perform on the ice when I've had all these older guys support off the ice.
Yeah, and it's great to have some of those guys that you just mentioned. Were there guys when you got in the league at first? Because I always ask players about this, even to this day, when they first come into the league and play. A couple of weeks ago, Josh Dunn makes his NHL debut. He's facing off against Jamie Benn. That's a starstruck kind of a moment, right? When you started playing at 18 years old, you get into the league. How many times did you find yourself being starstruck and have to pinch yourself? Or did you even go through that? Maybe you didn't.
Oh, I definitely did. There's a few funny stories that I could share quickly. Obviously growing up a Toronto Maple Leaf fan and idolizing Matt Sundin and Doug Gilmour. I got to play an all-star game with Matt Sundin. Got to line up, on the face-off circle with Doug Gilmour. Those two were pretty special to me. Just being a kid from Toronto. I think the craziest one was when Mario Lemieux came back, and I think it was an exhibition game, and I was lined up on a face-off circle with him, and that was definitely a pinch me moment. And I remember the puck squirted out right in between us, and I went to go lift his stick and missed his stick, and I sticked him right in the face. And it was so surreal that I just stick Mario Lemieux in the face, and I got a penalty for it. And said, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Lemieux. I idolized you growing up." But those things are cool, and those are kind of the things that you don't hear about. But you grow up with hockey being your life, and you have all these idols and these role models, and then you get an opportunity to play with them or play against them. And another one was I got to go to Olympic camp with Steve Yzerman, and sitting on a bus. I think I was 21 or 22 at the time, whatever I was, and I'm sitting on a bus beside Steve Yzerman, and I'm like, how am I here? So it's those little things like that where I definitely had those moments that you're talking about.
Why didn't you just tell Lemieux, get your face out of the way, buddy?
That's right. It's his own fault.
When you look at your career, the year that you won the share of the Rocket Richard Trophy obviously was a huge year for you. But as you sit back and look at it, is that the highlight of your career, that year you scored all those goals, or is there something else, or is it all kind of a culmination for you?
Yeah, it's definitely up there as one of my career highlights. But there's just so much goes into that award, with the centerman that I played with, all the guys that had the assists, the coaching staff. So that makes it a little more special. People ask me this a lot, and still to this day, that one Chicago goal that I scored to clinch the first ever, or to tie the game to help us clinch the first ever playoff spot, is definitely up there. The goal against Phoenix, everyone still loves. It seems that I always get asked about that, but then the international play with the gold medals, that's pretty special. I would have loved to win a Stanley Cup. Came close, but that Rocket Richard, I felt it did a lot for me personally. I think it did a lot for Columbus just to have a major award, come to the city, and we got to bring it out the next year onto the ice with Mr. Mac, which was really cool. So that memory sits up there as one of my top.
Since you mentioned Mr. Mack, I would like to talk to you about that right now, about the relationship that you had with him. Again, especially as a young player coming in here, an owner that was very proud to have the National Hockey League in Columbus. What did he mean to you? The way that he treated you, the relationship that you had with him. What did that mean to you then? What does it still mean to you today?
Yeah, we had a great relationship. I remember so many stories that I shared with him, around the arena, outside the arena. It meant a lot to me, and as I grew up as a Blue Jacket and saw what him and his family have done around town, and and just the charity that they've done and the things that they've given back, along with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He said all along that he wanted to bring a pro franchise to Columbus, and he did it. So, there's so many little things from, going out golfing with them, from having them come around the room and hang out before games. And I remember I always tried to have a goatee when I was young, and he would always come in and have one. And he would tell me that he was growing it because of me, and we looked the same. So, there were so many little things that really stuck with me from Mr. Mack. And, I feel pretty privileged to be part of this organization with him and his family being the ownership of it.
Who was the better golfer, you or Mr. McConnell?
Well, he was more of a watcher by that stage. He would come out in his golf cart and just kind of watch us hit. And, funny enough, one of us, where we were playing with him, almost struck him one time, and he was out there waving his white towel, telling him that he surrenders. But that their family there is pretty good golfers, so I can say with quite confidence that I don't think I could beat any of the McConnell boys at golf.
This is Hockey from Home, presented by Kemba Financial Credit Union. I'm with Rick Nash right now, and we were talking about the Rocket Richard. When you won that award that year, did you get the idea that, hey, maybe I'm going to do this every single year? I know you realize how hard it was to do, but does that kind of fuel that inner drive as a player, where you really get a lot of confidence in yourself and you're just like, almost like hey, this is where I belong, and this is what I can do. This is the kind of player I can be every year.
Yeah, I definitely thought that. I was a bit surprised to win it so young, and as I got older, I just looked back and I remember so many goals that year that shouldn't have went in, and they did. It just proved how many things had to go right. And then that year, I think I was minus 30s or something, which just kind of showed that I was being used to score goals and goals only. And once Ken Hitchcock came into the league, into the Blue Jacket organization, I feel like I took my game to another level, where I wasn't only scoring goals, I was playing a 200-foot game and responsible at both ends of the arena. But the time that I finally broke 41 is when I was in New York and scored 42. And I'm telling you, Bob, it was like I was going back in time, because everything went in. And it was just amazing that for, these guys that are scoring 50 every year or 40 every year, it's so impressive for me, because I know how hard it is to do, unless you have a shot like Line A or Ovechkin or these guys. It's really hard. You need a lot of things to go right to win that award.
You talk about being a 200-foot player, and Ken Hitchcock helped you do that. Can you explain that? Because there are still fans to this day that, with John Tortorella, who you played for in New York, where he'll get accused of taking a very skilled player and trying to turn him into a defensive player. And that's really not the case if you do it right. If you do it the way that you're talking about, you just cover the entire ice and you become a better overall player, correct?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Players, you have to understand. It was funny. I remember I was getting off the plane one time. I think we were in St. Louis, and Hitch pulled me aside and he asked me, he's like, do you want to be a goal scorer in this league, or do you want to be our best player? And I'm like, well, if I score a lot of goals, I'll be our best player. I was thinking in my head. And he said, well, no, because I want to use you on the penalty kill. I want to use you in the last 5 minutes of the game. If we're up a goal, he said, I want you to be a complete player. And that's where it kind of clicked in my head that if I want to be on the ice for 20 minutes a game, I'm going to have to adapt to being a complete player. And I think the one thing is you don't want to take away a player's, creative ability to score goals, but you have to make them understand that a lot of your offensive chances and opportunities are going to come from being in the right spot defensively. There's obviously times where you have to take chances. You have to let your instinct come into play. And then, it's fun watching Cam Atkinson on the PK and see his instincts. It's impressive. And that stuff you got to let go. But at the end of the day, if you have a defense first mentality, you're going to get so many more offensive chances. And I've had this talk with Torts a lot of times when I was with the Rangers and had him as a coach. So it's funny to see him press that here. And I think it's the right way to play.
Oh, he must have been thrilled when you came to the Rangers that you were already that kind of a player, that Hitch had already done that. He didn't have to butt heads with you to get you to do it.
I'm sure he was shaking his head sometimes at some of my games and some of the opportunities I took. But me and Torts have a fun friendship, and I loved playing for him.
You talked about international play a few minutes ago, and of course, winning gold with Team Canada is huge. What were those international tournaments like for you? Every time you got to pull on that Team Canada sweater, I know that's a lot of pride for you guys, but for you specifically, what's the feeling when you get a chance to play on those teams?
Yeah, there's so much pride. You put on the red and white maple leaf, and hockey means so much to the country of Canada that they always expect one color, and that's gold. And if you don't win gold in Canada, I can honestly say it's a failure to that tournament, to that Olympics, to that World Championships, whatever it might be. So going through kind of all the different emotions that we did in Torino in 2006, where I think we finished 7th. It was tough to show face that summer back home. You weren't too well liked. And then, to touch on the gold medals, we go into Vancouver and, all the media is asking how much pressure we have on us. And I remember Steve Yzerman telling us, don't bite into the media asking about this pressure. Just, say it's a new tournament, it's a new team, and we got to try to win gold. But I'm telling you, the pressure that we felt, it was extreme. And winning gold that time around felt like a huge relief, and it was a fun celebration for our country to win gold in our backyard. Then we go to Sochi, and it has a totally different feel to it. We show up, I think, 3 days before our first game. We missed the opening ceremonies. It was almost like a business trip. I don't think we lost a game that tournament. We won gold. It was literally about a 2-hour celebration. And we were back on the plane, back to playing the NHL. So I always compare it to Canada being a huge relief and a huge celebration, and then Sochi being a business trip, and we were there to win gold and then come home back to our NHL clubs.
Let's go back to that one that you won in Vancouver, though, because that final game was such an exciting game, the way that it goes, and it gets tied late. And then, of course, Crosby comes up with a golden goal when it's all over. Tell me about the intensity of that game itself, and especially when you're getting down near the end of the third period, all of a sudden you've got to go beyond that. Was there tension? Was there you're in the final game of the thing now, right? So are you just like, look, whatever we got, we're just putting it out there? What was the feeling like as you sat there, whether you were on the ice or on the bench?
Yeah, it was it was a weird situation because, we were minutes away or seconds away from a gold medal. And obviously USA had a great tournament and a great team, and they tie it up, and it was a deflating moment. And then you try to hold on for the last minute or last few seconds, and you come back in the room, and it's kind of interesting because you have 7 or 8 captains or whatever it was on their NHL club that are playing for Team Canada. And everyone was confident. Everyone was calm. You kind of did exactly what you did in between periods of a regular game. And it just had that feeling around it, like the story was already written. The book was already finished, and we knew who was going to score. We knew we were going to win. And obviously, they had a couple opportunities, and the USA had the team to win a gold medal, and they had a great tournament. But, you know, as I get older and look back on it, I said the story was already written. Crosby was going to score, and he was going to be Mr. Canada, and it was going to be the golden goal. But in between periods, there was a lot of confidence, and it was fun to be part of.
It's funny you say that because it would be great no matter who scored it, but you're right. It was all meant to be.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I had an opportunity in overtime coming down the right side, and I stopped up and I shot it, and it was my go-to low blocker shot. And I still have dreams that I was Mr. Canada and I had the golden goal. But like I said, it was fun, and you know, Sidney Crosby is such a good leader. He's such a nice guy off the ice. You know, he drags his teammates into the fight. And so I wouldn't expect anything different other than for him to score that goal.
You know, one of my favorite memories of you has nothing to do with playing in a game. It was early in my tenure here, and you got that gold medal, and we went to we had to go to, it was CD 101 at the time. They had you come in the morning to do an interview, and I went down there with you, and you came in, you're wearing a hoodie, and you come in, you start doing the interview, and they're like, did you bring the medal? You're like, oh yeah, I got the medal. And you reach into the pocket of your hoodie and you just whip out a gold medal. Like everybody carries one, you know? And then they wanted you to play bubble hockey. And you're like, hey, Bob, can you hold this medal? Sure, Rick. There's something I do every day is just hang on to gold medals. That was really, it was one of the coolest moments because what it says is what I know from being in the sport for a long time. Hockey players are regular people, as proud as you are about everything. You know, you're just the same as Joe Blow on the street.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, you know, the medal was awesome and it was great. But I always remember, you know, right after we got back to the room, both Olympics, I took my medal and I went and put it around the trainer's neck, Jim Ramsey, and I said, you know, you guys don't get a medal, but no one sees all the work you guys do. So I let him wear it. You know, another time I had a friend that was handling all our flights for us, Steve Lemessier, and he was in the room. I'm like, no one sees what you do behind. So I put my medal around his neck. You know, now that I'm older and I have that medal and my kids love it, it's cool. But at the time, you know, you win those championships to have the experiences and the memories. And yeah, the medal's a great part of it. But the cool thing for me is to share it with people and to share that experience through the medal.
All right, Rick, let's talk about, you know, when your playing tenure with the Blue Jackets came to an end. That was the one part of your career where I don't know if you wish it would have gone a little bit better or if it's okay with you now, but you ended up getting traded to the Rangers. You know, at the time, you had said, you know, if you can make the team better by me going somewhere else, go ahead and do that. You know, ironically, as it turned out, that really kind of happened. That trade with the Rangers started to springboard everything that happened here and turn it around. But that had to be a very difficult time for you. When you go back to that point in your life and making that decision and then it all playing out, how tough was it?
It was really hard. I mean, you know how much this organization and how much this city means to me. You know, I was coming into my 10th year as a Blue Jacket, and you know, we weren't having much success. We just kind of traded away a few of our young guys for older guys that you know, didn't seem to like it here, didn't seem to want to be here. So I went to management and I asked them an honest opinion on where we are and what our plan is. And I think it's being in the front office now, I think it's important to have the communication lines open. And, you know, they expressed to me that they're going to go through a rebuild and, you know, we're going to try to rebuild around you like we have been for the 10 years. And, you know, I was coming into the older point in my career. I think I was 27 or 28 at the time. And, you know, it was an idea of if you guys want to go down that road, right, why not start it with me? And, you know, it was kind of mutual after that. They were okay with it. You know, it just kind of got messy after that, which is unfortunate because, you know, I feel like I put a lot into this city, a lot into this organization. And, you know, at the same time, I respected it. I was a player that got traded and you know what, you're the enemy now. And you come back into town and you play on the other team, and you got to respect that as a sports fan. So yeah, I wish it could have been smoother, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't change my experience in New York, in Boston for 4 months. It was incredible playing for the original six, playing at MSG. So I wouldn't change anything.
All right. Well, I've got to ask you this now because of the way that you described that whole thing where, at the time, the trades that were made and the situation where the team was. Now you're on the other side of it. I mean, now you're in the front office. Now you are working alongside with Yarmo. You guys have discussions in groups about where this franchise is going right now. So, Nick Foligno is traded out. David Savard is traded out. And it seems like it's kind of at a crossroads again a little bit right now. And, when you're talking about how they came to you and they said, we want to build around you, the guy that jumps out at me right now is Seth Jones. Is that the kind of guy that you want to build around? Probably. Good leader, great player here. So with your own experience that you just related to us, when you're having these conversations and you're talking with Yarmo, how much can you kind of put yourself in the moment when you're looking at the guys that are here and how you guys can go about reloading this thing the way that you want to?
Yeah, I think it's a great question that you're asking, because it's a very similar situation. And I think it's important that we're all on the same page here. We all have the same end goal, and that's to bring a Stanley Cup to Columbus. And it's a matter of not having, two sides with two different game plans, I guess you could say. So, it's important that we know where our players stand and that they want to be here. We're trying to make, everything as easy as possible for these players, so they just have to worry about what's going on the ice. But at the end of the day, I think the communication of it is huge. And some of the best teams that I've been around, whether it be Olympics or playoff teams or, going to the finals, the communication was always there between the coaches, management, and the players. And I think moving forward with the position we're in, it's going to be important for us to know who wants to win a Stanley Cup with the Blue Jackets and who doesn't have that dream. Because with this organization, we obviously want the Blue Jackets to be on top.
And part of what your role is, and I know you want to keep guys here. I know you want to be instrumental in that too, because you're here. Like you said, you fell in love with this place. You could have gone back to the Toronto area. You could have gone anywhere you want to in the world, but here you are retired in Columbus. And there are plenty of your former teammates that are doing the same right now. They're coming back. I know that the alumni group that Jody Shelley heads up is getting larger all the time. So what kind of things can you do with today's player to relate to them, to, I don't know if I should say to get them to love it as much as you do here, but to at least get them to want to stay here, to want to win that Stanley Cup with the Columbus Blue Jackets?
Yeah, it's it's not the easiest thing to do, but it's definitely what I'm kind of have on my plate. And there's different situations with every person. Some guys want to go to a big market. Some guys want to go to Original Six, and I've done it, so I get where they're coming from. I understand it. And saying that, there's some really hard parts about playing in a city like an Original Six or a city in Canada that you can't get away with, that you can here in a place in Columbus. So it's tough, but each situation is different. And I think the one thing that really breeds people that want to stay is if you have a winning organization. And I feel like that's where we have been, for the last four to 6 years is a winning team that's been in the playoffs every year. Obviously this year is a bit different, but if you have a chance to win the Stanley Cup and make the playoffs, then I don't understand why you'd want to leave if you started here. I mean, the city's great. The community's great. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a fun place with all the sports down at Ohio State. So for me, it's an easy sell, unless you have guys that want to go to a huge market. Then there's not much you can do other than if you have a winning product on the ice.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And do you feel this year has been so weird? I mean, let's be honest. There's development hasn't been able to be the same as it normally is. You have guys on taxi squads instead of in the American Hockey League. Players on the road can only go to the rink and the hotel. The camaraderie. I think the lack of being able to have camaraderie and bonding, I think it has hurt this team in particular, because I think this team is that's a big part of what they do. And the new players that came in this year, they weren't able to do it. So are you hoping that this year is just kind of like a write-off, and you can say, look, that was a blip on the radar, and we're going to get this thing put back together. We're going to get a couple of players in here via trade or free agency, whatever the case is, and put it back on track?
Yeah, I think you hit it though. It's been a strange year for everyone, to be in a bubble and not be able to be outside of it and live a regular life. But in saying that, it's what needed to be done to get an NHL season in. So that side of it has been really impressive. But the other standpoint, it's amazing the way a team can come together off the ice and away from the rink. And you're right. This team is always known as a close-knit group, a team that's hard to play against, and all these different things that makes Nationwide Arena a tough place to come into. But when you can't bond outside the arena, I think it's affected us for sure. And saying that, I think we got to take the positives out of it. There's no point of just sitting here and dragging our feet. I think we got to learn from these different experiences of getting off to quick starts, being able to close out games. Learn from these experiences that we can take into next year when we hopefully have more of a normal season.
How much are you enjoying the front office experience and going out and doing a little bit of scouting? And again, that's different this year. It's not as much as it normally would be, but you've gotten a chance now. A couple of years ago, you were dipping your toe in the water, just kind of being around during the playoffs. Now you're full-fledged in there. How much do you enjoy this role in hockey?
Yeah, I love this role. It's been it's been so helpful to me with the adjustment of retirement, and kind of the way I went out of the game, where I still feel like I had some years left in me. It's been a huge help, and I'm so thankful to to the McConnell family, to Mike Priest, to Yarmo for giving me this opportunity, and to get to learn off him, and go on scouting trips with Basil McRae, Josh Flynn, get to go up to Cleveland with Chris Clark. I'm so grateful for this opportunity and so lucky to be in this position. And, just keep trying to be a sponge and learning and growing with this organization, and, make this a great place to play, and people want to be here.
Have you figured out what the ultimate goal is for you yet in this role? I mean, some guys, they do it and they're like, hey, you know what? I think I could be a general manager. I'd like to be a general manager. Maybe I want to be a president of hockey ops. Have you gotten to that point yet where you've come to an ultimate goal as a management member of the management?
Yeah, you know what? It's been fun to kind of learn this side of it. And, at first you just don't know where exactly you want to be. Most guys, and I felt like I wanted to be in management. I've always been so interested on how you build a team. And, as I get into this, I get interested on the business side too, to see how this organization works from a business standpoint. So, right now as I said, I'm lucky that Yarmo's kind of taking me under his wing, and I get to learn off, one of the best guys in the hockey business. I definitely want to stay in the management area. But it's also been fun to hang out, with my family and get to enjoy time with my kids and enjoy those things. So we'll see where it takes me, but I'm so happy in the management department.
Yeah. Enjoy the best of both worlds while you can, buddy.
That's right. Exactly.
Rick, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. It's only fitting that as we come to the end of the 20th anniversary celebration that you are the headline player. So you had a great career as a player here, and now doing good things in management. Again, I appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Bob. I've always felt like I've been a Blue Jacket. No matter where I go, it's always nice to be home.
There he is, Rick Nash, as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Blue Jackets hockey. This has been Hockey from Home, presented by Kemba Financial Credit Union.